Retail is a very important aspect in the everyday life of the normal person. People need to buy items for basic necessities such as food, clothing, water, etc. And largely this is accomplished through the distribution of varied retail outlets. Considering that retail is such an important part of the world in which we live, it is important that we can holistically understand the nature of retail distribution, which is otherwise known in the marketing world as the concept of place. We also need to be able to understand the impacts that certain factors and characteristics of the business world can have upon this concept. Now, predominantly the two main forms of retail distribution are store-based retail and virtual retailing. The purpose of holistically understanding retail distribution is to enable us to forecast what the future of the concept of place is going to look like in the business world. A retailer is an entity that purchases products in bulk groups from manufacturers and wholesalers, and then sells the products to the general public with the intent of making a profit. Retail outlets have traditionally been in the form of physical stores at shopping centres, malls, and the like. However, a new trend has begun to emerge with the advance of the technological age: e-commerce. E-commerce refers to the buying, selling, and marketing of products and services through electronic networks. The main avenue through which this occurs is, of course, the internet. It is undeniable that virtual retailing is continually becoming a larger proportion of the market, and therefore it is an important factor for us to consider when looking at the future of retail distribution. Now, there are many facets to retail marketing. These facets include, firstly, the different avenues through which marketing occurs. There are bricks and mortar stores. These refer to stores which have no virtual presence. In the past, most of the stores would have been classified as a brick and a mortar store. Now, however, with the internet and with websites, the majority of stores are not. The majority of bricks and mortar stores are locally run enterprises. Now, some examples of this are Perlo's Fruit Barn and Woodhouse Jeans Store, which are both located in Lismore in northern New South Wales. There are clicks and mortar stores. Clicks and mortar refer to businesses with physical stores as well as a virtual presence. Some prominent examples of real-world corporations which exchange products online are Harvey Norman, Coles, Woolworths, etc. And then there are just clicks. These refer to e-tailers with a virtual world presence only, no physical store. Examples of this are eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, and sales made via social media networking sites. There are also the classifications of retail products. Now, there are 4 types of classifications of retail products. There are food products, hard and durable goods, which include cars, electronics, sports equipment. There are soft goods or consumables, which include fabrics, medical supplies, footwear, etc. And there are art goods. These include things like music, artwork, DVDs, books, etc. Another facet of marketing distribution are the 4 prominent marketing channels for consumer products. The first of these is the direct channel, which goes straight from the producer to consumers. An example of this is the Starbucks cafe, where they just make the coffee on the spot and give it to the customer. The retailer channel. This is where the cycle goes from the producer to the retailers to the consumer. Some prominent examples of these are again Harvey Norman, Woolworths, and Coles. Then there's a wholesaler channel. This is where it goes from the producer to wholesalers to retailers to consumers. Some examples of these are Heinz tomatoes and other types of canned food. And the 4th and final one is the agents or broker channel. This is where it goes from agents, brokers, to wholesalers, to retailers, to consumers. An example of this would be the Myers department store. Store-based marketing is the conventional method of retail distribution. It refers to where retail transactions occur in a physical store manned by staff. In store-based distribution, the retailer receives the product or service and then markets that product or service to the general public inside its outlet, which is its shop. In-store retail marketing is the traditional way to buy or sell a product. The person or organization that hosts the store is known as the retailer. In the past, in-house stores have been the avenue of entities building continuous customer relationships due to driving sales through the advertisement of physical products and stock, and building loyalty through a degree of excellent customer service. There are many advantages to this approach, and they include the ability of customers to examine products firsthand before making the purchase, the accessibility of advice to the customer, the fact that many items are not distributed through any other method of retail except in-store. In-stores are more reliable than virtual stores. Human contact and advice is another advantage of going to an actual store, and the fact that there are no delays between purchasing the product as a customer and then receiving it is another advantage. There are also some disadvantages associated with the in-house store approach. Virtual stores are new and therefore they are more appealing to the public. Virtual stores also offer more of a do-it-yourself independent approach that a real store would actually lack. In an actual store, customers can feel pressured to make a decision on the spot. In an actual store, items can run out of stock, and prices are usually marked up inside retail outlets to incorporate costs of logistics and the general profit that the owner wants to make. Now, although the amount of virtual world sales continue to rise, store-based distribution still takes the vast majority of the retail distribution market. Almost 95% of purchases are made in a physical setting, one that is non-virtual. Virtual retail refers to buying and selling products in any method where the primary avenue is technology. The most common occurrence of this is e-commerce, purchases made through electronic networks. The most regularly used electronic network is the internet, but there are different kinds of e-commerce and other kinds of virtual retail. Virtual retailing is still a relatively new trend, and it has been made possible by the introduction of the technological age, in particular the evolution of the World Wide Web. A late 20th century phenomenon, online retail is the more recent avenue of retail distribution than store-based. The online party, which makes the purchase possible, is referred to as the e-tailer. The benefits of virtual retailing method include websites are always open to purchase from. There are no opening or closing times. There are no travel or traffic issues for the consumer when purchasing from a website. There is a greater range of choice made available by virtual retail. Overseas products are also accessible for the consumer opting to use virtual retail. The customer can make a more well-informed decision by going through virtual retail. Lower prices can also be found using e-commerce, and virtual auctions such as eBay provide opportunity for customers to find products at a lower price. There is the potential for fast delivery. Disadvantages of virtual retailing include security concerns of credit card details and other personal data. There is also fraud or misrepresentation on the internet, where a customer can purchase a product and the product they receive is not to the same quality or quantity that they were led to believe. A website could also crash. There are known to be many fraudulent scams on the internet. The customer also cannot physically examine the item before making the purchase. There are increased shipping costs due to lack of economies of scale when a customer orders online. There is also the potential that if e-commerce becomes a more regularly used method of retail distribution, that it will lead to the breakdown of human relationships. Now, there are many trends that are associated with virtual retailing. When virtual retail was first introduced, it was given little or no recognition by major wholesalers and retail departments. they thought that it would never take off. For example, in 1999, one of the largest furniture retailers, Furniture Brands International, was quoted as saying, "Furniture doesn't fit the web." Basically, that furniture would never take off with sales on the web. However, after a slow start, the amount of online sales are increasing at an exponential rate for those countries who have access to the internet. And in 2007, furniture purchases made online reached $4 billion annually. Between January 2010 and September 2014, the online sales to store-based sales ratio in the United States has gone from 4.2% to 6.6%. In summation, in-house store retail, while the traditional avenue for marketing distribution, is slowly giving way for virtual retail. In-house retail holds the vast majority of the market. However, the more recent virtual retail continues to increase its annual sales at an unprecedented exponential rate. Virtual retail also has a limitless potential to take over the market if it continues to develop its amount of websites and amount of users at the current rate. However, this would seem a long way away at the moment. Virtual and store-based retailing distributions both have their advantages and disadvantages. And to conclude, I believe that the future of marketing distributions lies in a balance being made between the two avenues of retail. As I am commuting this report in as a distance student, I've constructed my own questions and answers that I believe would be asked in a physical environment. The first question is, how long do you think it will take before virtual and store-based retail hit a 50-50 ratio share of the marketplace? It is difficult to tell if current trends will continue, but if they do, I would forecast that there is anywhere between 15 and 35 years before virtual sales get to a 50-50 ratio with store-based retail. The second question I have constructed is, as a consumer, which method do you, being me, prefer? And as a consumer, I like to find a balance between the two. I find that online purchasing is reliable only if from an official website. I've had some personally bad experiences with those other websites such as AliExpress and eBay. But as a social person, I do prefer the concept and the activity of going to physical stores to make purchases. The third question that I've constructed is, do I find that population demographics have an impact on which retail method is being used? My answer is yes. I find that age, socioeconomic status, and much more do impact which retail method a person chooses to use. For example, younger people are more likely to go for virtual retailing than middle-aged or elder people. And also, people from a higher socio-economic status who would have access to things like Visa and credit cards are more likely to go for virtual retailing or have greater access to virtual retailing than to physical in-store retailing. Thank you for your time.